Mr. Servant. Here. Ms. Weinstein.
Here.
Mr. Potts. Here. Mr. Kelleher. Ms. Atkinson.
Here.
Ms. Winger. And Mrs. Smith.
Here, and then
Good.
Mr. Burke.
Yep, while we have to swear in. So before we move on to the agenda, I'm going to ask Mr. Monahan to swear in Mr. Merkin, our Lakers representative. He's back for his second tour.
Just put your hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. I, Joel, I state your full name.
Joel Merkin,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I'll support the Constitution of the United States.
I'll support the Constitution of the United States.
I will bear true faith and allegiance
I'll bear true faith and allegiance
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and this state,
and this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
One little more. I state your full name again.
I, Joel Merkin,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I possess the qualifications
I possess the qualifications
for the office of a board member,
for the office of a board member.
and I am not disqualified as a voter.
I am not disqualified as a voter.
I am not disqualified as a result of a conviction of a crime.
I am not disqualified as a result of a conviction of a crime.
I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and perform all the duties
perform all the duties
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
This is an arcade.
Yeah.
It is, but that's
It
it.
is.
Congratulations.
Thank you for joining us again, Joel.
I'd just like to take a quick roll call of the board. Mr. Servant. Here. Ms. Weinstein. Yeah.
She's here.
I know, it's a trick
I don't know
question.
who I am. I'm here.
Mr. Potts. Here. Ms. Atkinson.
Here.
Mr. Merkin. And Mrs. Merkin.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's Board of Ed meeting. This last month was a very busy one. MTES hosted a one-book night on Thursday the 21st. It was a heavily attended event. The kids had a blast getting their ice cream sundaes and playing games. Great job, Mrs. Henry, for organizing. On March 23rd, I got to attend the Ridgeway Elementary School Dolphin Day, which also had a very good turnout. I would like to thank all of the staff and businesses who donated to make the event such a success. And I'm the proud winner of 2 prizes. After Dolphin Day, I headed over to the high school where I got to see the performance of Rock of Ages. It was absolutely amazing. I hope everybody here got to see it. The kids are so talented, and the music was really, really good. On March 25th, I got to attend the 8th grade dialogue with Mrs. Pedroza, where Jenna Meyer represented the 8th grade 8th grader from Manchester, and she was asked a series of questions, and she was up on stage with 8th graders from all of Ocean County. The School Boards Association hosted that event. Jenna did a beautiful job. On April 21st, I got to attend the Manchester Middle School performance of Finding Nemo. It was absolutely adorable, and again, we are full of very talented kids here in Manchester Township. On April 24th, Board of Ed members attended the county school boards meeting. The county teacher of the year was there. She happens to teach in the district I work in, so it was nice to see her there. From the school board's perspective, they spoke about changes in legislation, and they're hoping to be able to draw more teachers to the profession. So they're looking at ways to recruit people. Women's basketball is taking off this year. I'm sure you watched the Iowa game. And I would like to say congratulations to Manchester's own Leilani Carrera, class of 2019, for being drafted by the Indiana Fever. I have to give a little shout out to someone very special here, my godson Aaron. I'll be honoring him tonight from Ridgeway Elementary School, so sorry to embarrass you, Aaron. And then I'd like to end with a quote: "The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said," by Peter Drucker. So keep that in mind. Thanks again for coming out tonight, and the microphone's yours, Ms. Pedroza.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and and welcome. I'd like to begin by speaking about some retirements that you'll see on the agenda this evening. I'd like to congratulate Pat White. She's been a teacher at the high school for over 26 years, so let's give her a nice round of applause. So I was a principal, you know, at Ridgeway Elementary School, and I worked also very closely with this wonderful educator. I'd like to congratulate Ruth Sestaro, who has been with us in Manchester for 19 years. We have two other retirements. A media specialist, as you know, is a very challenging position. They are what I consider the hub of the school. So we thank Nancy Trust for 9 years of service here in Manchester. And I am proud that our roots run really strong here and that people love to stay in Manchester. This lady has been a wonderful paraprofessional, but her children have probably graced the classrooms of many of us here. So congratulations to Cynthia Pappas, who is also going to be retiring with 10 years of service. So I'm going to ask Mr. Rauscher if you could bring up the student recognition presentation, because this is the best time of our meeting. I know Mr. Lorenzen's going to do a great job with the budget too, but nothing like bringing our kiddos up here, right? No pressure, Mr.
I really wish you'd go after me, but.
Yeah, we're going to do the kids first. But, so I'm going to start with, just make sure the battery's working. I think I see this wonderful teacher out in the audience. If she come up, Mrs. Peck's third grade class, and we're looking for Kyle, Valentina, Andrew, and Kaylin. Come on up, nice round of applause. So Mrs. Peck's third grade class, or should we say Series XM Disney Kids guest host. These young dragons entered a contest earlier this year and they won. How are they bring the recording? Maybe another time, right?
Another time.
Okay. They chose 4 of their favorite Disney songs and they wrote about them. They liked them, they explained why they're favorites. And we stay tuned this spring as they have the fabulous opportunity to introduce these songs on XM radio. So I hope, how many of you, show of hands, have XM out there? Because you'll be able to hear them in the spring and we will let you know. Way to go to this class, and they are here this evening to represent them. Wonderful class. They did a great job. Public speaking is not easy. Mrs. Healy and I actually heard them practicing over this. Great job, Mrs. Peck, and congratulations. We'll continue our night of celebrations with Ridgeway Elementary School, and I'm going to ask if Mrs. Hudson would come up, and it's Mrs. Hudson's 5th grade class. We have representatives from that class who are Holly, Kyle, and Valeria. Come on up, guys. Aaron. Okay. Half of the students wrote about whether people should be able to visit the Titanic or if they should be left to rest. They partnered with Ocean County Library for a database project to complement their opinion writing unit. And I was a writing teacher. You know, opinion writing is not that easy. The other half wrote about whether water bottles are harmful or helpful. Students learned how to use the library database to find books and fun facts about their topic. The library took the suggested books and facts to create amazing book displays and bookmarks. Congratulations to these students who are representing the 5th grade class at Ridgeway Elementary School. We're going to continue with Whiting Elementary School, and this cutie is Emma Allman. If she come up, Emma. So, the Ocean County Library, the Mental Health Awareness Committee of Ocean County, and the Ocean County chapter of the National Alliance of Mental Illness have awarded Emma the winner of the Mental Health Awareness Month Calendar Contest. She's one of the 5th grader students who was celebrated around the county and was honored for participating in What a Difference a Friend Makes art contest. She will attend the Celebrating Wellness Award ceremony next month, where she'll receive recognition from the Ocean County Board of Commissioners. And you did a wonderful job. We saw what you created. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. And congratulations. Our next student is representing Regional Day School. Is Russell here this evening? Congratulations. Come on up, Russell. Russell is an excellent student and a role model. He's an inquisitive learner and has a strong work ethic. He's a good friend to his classmates, and during the course of the year, he has made great progress and gains in academic and social skills. Congratulations to Russell, the RDS Student of the Month. And not only is your Ridgeway family proud of you, but we are all so proud of you, Russell. We'll continue with the middle school, and you already heard this fantastic young lady's name from Mrs. Mount. Could I please have up here Jenna Meyer? So I'm going to read this, but I'm also going to explain to you because what Jenna did was simply fantastic. She was with a huge panel of students from across Ocean County, and she had to answer question after question after question. And she really made Manchester look so amazing and made us proud, because that wasn't very easy, Jenna, and I was impressed. So you did a tremendous job. So it is a pleasure that middle school recognizes Jenna at this evening's Board of Education meeting. She's an 8th grade student who participates in drama and is the manager of the softball team. She recently played a key role in the middle school production of Finding Nemo Jr., which was fantastic, by the way. She represented the middle school and Ocean County students' voices, which joined a panel of other 8th graders across the county, giving their views and giving their opinions. We are so proud of you, Jenna, and you did a wonderful job, so congratulations. Oh yes, I forgot to say, if you are ever in the middle school, you'll hear her voice. She is the voice of MTMS in the morning, and she does a tremendous job. I think I saw these children out there. Is Riley here and Xavier? Come on up, guys. We're extremely proud to have Xavier and Riley represent MTMS as our student athletes of the month of April.
Congratulations.
Xavier and Riley are both a great representation of what it means to be a student athlete. They are both 8th grade. I'm glad I'm not standing next to me. And I have my highest heels on, too. They are both 8th grade leaders of our track and field, cross-country teams, and softball, basketball teams, respectively. They work just as hard in the classroom as they do in the athletic arena and serve as an excellent example to our younger student athletes. So congratulations. I saw this other sunshine in the back of the room. Shay here? All right. Come on. So Shay was recently recognized as the WOBM Student of the Week. She ranked 2nd in her class. She has been honored as the Student of the Year in both English and Bio, and is an AP ambassador. She's a 3-year member of the National Honor Society, involved in Habitat for Humanity, and has received the National Community Service Merit Award. A 4-year member of the Hawks soccer team, yes, and soccer is a sport, and she was both the captain and MVP as a junior and senior. You're making us proud, girl. Congratulations to Seth. And the next two are our senior Caitlin, Lady Hawk, and I believe also we have our other athlete here who is Vander. I think is he not here? No problem. Okay, so I'm going to still read it because this is pretty tremendous and we need to let everybody know.
Let me just say that the
Sure.
softball team is on the road. That's why Caitlin's not here, and there was a medical issue with Vander's family. I'll tell you.
Okay, we hope everything is okay. So Caitlin has led our Lady Hawks as a pitcher on the softball field. She threw a rare no-hitter versus Lakewood in early April with 13 strikeouts. Come on, give her a round of applause. Now, as if that isn't enough, she's nearly 300 career strikeouts and over 300% career batting average. She will attend Stockton University for softball, which is just tremendous. So congratulations to her. Our senior Vander led the Hawks in their division championship by winning the javelin, triple jump, and the long jump, thus helping us secure a 4th consecutive division title. Come on, that's awesome, right? She is the top state returner in the javelin and has competed at the prestigious Penn Relays last weekend, and that is very prestigious, so congratulations to him. Helping the team secure their 4th consecutive title, he's finalizing college plans at Monmouth or Georgian Court to continue his track career. So congratulations. So I do want to also bring up, I mean, I often end with quotes, but I just want to say that you're all invited. If you need dinner this Thursday, we have this STEM activity going on here at the middle school. It is a fantastic night, but it also is a time where our kids get to showcase all the wonderful things, and you're all invited. So please put it on your calendar. It is this Thursday, May 2nd at 5 p.m., and come with your hungry stomachs because there is a lot of food, right, Mr. George?
Yes, very good.
And it's delicious food because I'm not cooking. So I also want to just let you know, no pressure. I've been practicing, Mr. Lister, but I'm not doing all that well. But the Blue Claws game, if you want to come for a lap, I will be throwing out a pitch. So mark it on your calendar. It is a fundraiser event by the PTA. I love the PTA, so I will do anything for any of them. It is going to be on Saturday, May 11th at 6 p.m. Don't worry if you can't make it, because I'm sure my husband will video it, and he shares it with all of us. So, but if you can make it, that would be great. And of course, also, I believe one of the principals that gets the highest ticket sales will also be there to overthrow for me and help me in some way. But please, it will be a wonderful night. Blue Cross does so many wonderful things. I was just there this weekend for the POAC walk, and it was just simply tremendous. It's local, it's close, they do great things for our kids. So if you're looking for something on a Saturday, please mark that on your calendar. The other thing I wanted to say is, was Valentina here? Okay. And Andrew? Okay. Then we have their certificates. I apologize if did I not call their names? I apologize. Okay. So somebody obviously had them caught in there, but thank you so much. Thanks, Mrs. Peck. If you can make sure they get them. So, you know the week of celebrations is coming up. We start tomorrow with our May 1st Principal Appreciation. And then next week begins Teacher Appreciation, Monday the 6th. The 6th also is appreciation of our bus drivers, and also on the 8th is Nurses Appreciation. So what I would like you to do is, if you are appreciative of the staff in Manchester, send them a card, send them an email. I know cards are a little bit, everybody sends texts or emails, but cards are a really nice thing to do if you can. I love to write cards still. At the end of the day, there is no better time than the present to thank all of our staff for their dedication to our students. There is a saying that reads, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Our students surely feel the care and the dedication and the relationships that we have here in Manchester. So please make sure you let our staff know how much you appreciate them, because I certainly do. And then the last thing is I'd like to ask you to just mark on your calendars our PTA meeting, May 16th at the high school. And at that time, we will be awarding the mini grants that have been graciously given to us by our PTA. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a good night.
I was going to give him a chance so he could. Just going to see if I can see without. right, so welcome everybody. I'm here tonight to discuss the school budget for next year. This is a requirement that we have to do every year. We do have to have a public hearing, and we do have to discuss the budget. So I'm going to go through, it'll probably be roughly 20, 25 minutes. I'm going to just talk about, the process. I guess it helps. All right, yeah, so what we're going to discuss tonight is, you might have to stand, there you go. So here's the agenda for tonight. We're going to talk first about the financial. What decisions go into developing the school budget? What are the revenue drivers? What are the cost drivers? School funding. How is our budget funded? State aid. Budget spending. This particular year, we are going to have some budget reductions. I'll get a little more into that. And we'll talk a little bit about administrative costs. Then we're going to go into a budget snapshot of all the departments in our district, and tell you a little bit about what we're doing in each of those areas. And then lastly, we'll talk about the budget out. All right, so budget process typically starts in October, and 6 months later we're here. So this is a very long process. It involves our administration, it involves the central office, it involves our staff. We have discussions about what priorities are, so we look at district initiatives and goals. We look, our goal every time we go into a budget is saving programs and staff. That's always our first priority, is to save our programs, save our staff, look at things we can possibly bring into the budget. Again, that's our priority. Then we go we work back from there. Technology has become such a huge part of education now. So we have to discuss technology and what's needed. Supporting the stuff that we have. What else is coming in? Facilities. If you've been to our schools look fantastic. Our buildings and grounds crew do an outstanding job both inside and outside of our schools. We want to make sure your students have a healthy, safe environment to go to school. Safety and security. We've typically done something every year in this district involving school safety and security, whether it's cameras, visitor management, card swipes, you name it, we've done it, shared 911, those types of things, having SROs in class 3s in our buildings now. So again, that's something we take a look at. And the next thing, obviously, which drives the budget is school funding. What is our funding going to look like? Our funding changes from year to year. State aid changes from year to year. And then lastly, what's the impact on the taxpayers? Okay, so first we'll talk about revenue sources in the budget. So where does the revenue come from in the school budget? So the bulk of our revenue comes from tax levy. This is taxes that our residents pay to support the school budget. The second largest part comes from state aid, state school aid. What drives state school aid is enrollment and our demographic makeup. So free reduced lunch, ESL, special education, our regular school, our regular ed kids. Changes in those areas change how much state aid we get. Federal aid, this is like our No Child Left Behind, and some other IDEA, those types of things. Other revenue sources. Now this year, this is kind of a unique year, is if you got your money in banks this year, you're earning interest, you're earning a lot more interest this year than you probably have in 15 years. We're budgeting more investment income this year. We're actually budgeting non-public transportation aid. That is the revenue that we get that supports a portion of what we pay out in aid in lieu. We have extraordinary aid. That's something we apply for every single year. It's about $1.7 million in our budget. And then the last piece is our send-receive relationship that we have with Lakehurst. We collect tuition for those high school age kids who attend our district. And then last, and you can't forget this, you'll see on every agenda, we have donors, our PTA, our foundation, our staff that brought donors' shoes. We're always looking for other ways to bring resources into the district outside the budget. Cost drivers. So our cost drivers in the budget. So when the original budget was submitted to me for review, we were $6 million over our cap. And when I went and looked at everything, that $6 million, 92% of that $6 million was tied into 7 categories in our budget. Salaries, health benefits, out-of-district tuition payments, charter school tuition, some infrastructure, transportation, and our liability insurance. So when you think about that, that was over $5.5 million of the $6 million increase was tied into 7 categories. And these are not categories that we have a ton of flexibility in. Salaries are dictated by our negotiated agreements. Health benefits, again, dictated by our usage. Out-of-district tuition students, dictated by IEPs. Charter school tuition, same thing. Families do have a right to send their kids to charter schools. Infrastructure, again, we have to support our buildings and our technology and things like that. Transportation. Again, we are doing better with bus drivers. We still do have a shortage of bus drivers. So we still are contracting more routes out of district. And then liability insurance. You have to have liability insurance. Our liability insurance right now, based on projections, is expected to increase 25 to 30%. It's unbelievable. But now, one of the things we were able to do is we added about $3 million of revenue to our budget this year through our tax levy increase, investment income, budgeting some revenues that we have not had a budget before. So that left us with about $3 million to cut out of our budget to get to cap. Some of the other areas that are impacting the budget, special education. Special education is one of the most volatile areas in our budget. It can swing from one week to the next, 1 month to the next. Just to give you an example, since January of 24, we've had to send 10 kids out of district placements, whether they were move-ins, whether they were in programs here, it didn't work out, we had to send them out. That's a huge amount of money when you're halfway through your school, when you're halfway through your budget. We have over 200 multi-language learners in the district now. A few years ago, we had about 40. So that's a big change. We have substitute shortages. Still having hard times getting substitutes in the district. Minimum wage increases. Now, we just had our last one, I believe, in January. Each increase that we've had has required us to increase sub rates and those types of things. And then we're also feeling that on the other side as a school district, our vendors are dealing with the same thing and passing that cost on to us. This is the last year of all the COVID funds, I guess, the school districts got. Our last pot of COVID funds is expiring this September. There are things in those grants that we've been covering for the last 3 or 4 years that we are going to have to bring back into our local budget next year. We've brought some of that stuff back this year, but there's more we're going to have to discuss for next year. And then the last thing is inflation. We're seeing inflation just like everybody else is. Every single thing that we've done 3 or 4 years ago is costing us more to do now. So that's, those are things we're dealing with. So where does our school funding come from? This pie chart really hasn't changed much in 16 years that I've been the business administrator here. Although we are relying slightly less on taxes from residents. We used to be somewhere 82, 83%. Now we're down to 76%. So 76% of our budget is funded by our taxpayers. We receive about 10% from the state, about 2% federal, and then the rest comes from some of those other areas that I've discussed. We are kind of a unique district in that even though our district is considered below the poverty level, we do not get a lot of state aid from the state. The reason that is because we have a huge senior population in Manchester. So we have a lot of residents, they have pensions, they have income, they have property. All that is thrown into the funding formula. So the funding formula actually determines that we are a wealthy school district. And that's why we only get 10% state aid. In reality, we probably should be getting probably half of our budget from state aid. But the way the funding formula is set up right now, that's not the case. here's our state aid snapshot for the last 5 years. So this is actually so much better than I could have ever imagined, because we were one of those school districts that were under this new S2 legislation. So essentially what that legislation was school districts prior to 7 years ago were essentially held harmless regardless of changes in enrollment. And then they implemented this law, this Senate Bill S2. And essentially what they were doing is they were adjusting school district state aid based on enrollment. So for 7 years, we were actually supposed to lose state aid for 7 years. Many of our surrounding districts did, and lost millions and millions of dollars. So in actuality, we actually came out ahead. And if you look at the last 2 years, last year we received $270,000 in state aid. This year we received $600,000 in state aid, more than we got last year. The reason being is our changes in our demographic in the district. That's more special ed, more MLLs, more free and reduced. Those have higher weights in the funding formula, so we get more funding for those groups. So this is the last year of Senate Bill S2. Starting next year, you're essentially just funded now on your enrollment. There's no more reductions. So if you do see a reduction, it's because your enrollment is decreasing. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Here's our budget spending by category. If you look, that big slice of red, that's our instructional salaries. Other salaries is that maroon color, and health benefits is that yellow tab. Those 3 categories alone make up 75% of our entire budget. So when we're talking about $3 million cuts, and 75% of our budget is essentially made up of personnel costs, we're talking about staff. We're talking about staff reductions. But look, on the positive side, 44% of that pie is in instruction. That means 44% of our budget is in the classroom, whether that's personnel, whether it's supplies, anything like that. 44% of that budget is in the classroom. So one on the right, I'm left. So let's talk a little bit about budget cuts. So as we've gone through this budget process, the first thing we do, like I said, is we don't look at staff right away. What we do is we try to look at every other area of the budget and see what we can reduce. We look at trends, we look at different analysis, different data, and kind of see where we could potentially reduce our budget before we get into programs and staff. Once we get to that point, like I said, because now we're only working out of that 25% of the budget for those cuts. So it's not a ton of money. Even in that 25%, it's not all things we can eliminate. There's things like utilities in that 25%. There's things like contracted services for special ed. There's things like insurance and those types of things. So there's things in that 25% we still can't touch. So after that, then we go and we look at staff. So this budget, it eliminates 3 administrative positions. One was created with some of this federal funding. So we've eliminated the position. That person's going to go back into the classroom. And then the other two positions were eliminated, and they're going to be absorbed through attrition. We have some non-instructional positions we eliminated. Again, these positions were created with COVID funds. Those positions are eliminated. We had 4 teaching positions that we are eliminating through attrition. So this is either through retirements, those types of things. We took a look at everything and found that we don't need to replace them. We have a media specialist, a school psychologist, and 1.5 positions in our buildings and grounds department. We're eliminating a part-time position, and right now we are leaving a grounds position vacated for the foreseeable future. The good news. The good news is class sizes will not be affected by these cuts. They will remain relatively the same. Program services, all that stuff is still intact. No changes in sports or clubs, although we will be taking a closer look at participation this year and making sure we do have enough kids interested in playing to run those clubs. Courtesy busing, after-school busing, that is still available. Field trips, everything else that's in our budget right now is available next year. Now, these things could change, other factors could come into play between now and the end of the year, or next year, because the budget is a living document. We adjust this thing monthly, weekly, depending on what's going on in the district, so obviously we have to be able to react and make some changes. But right now, as it's being presented tonight, this is what it is. The future, school funding. We have not hit it yet. There are districts around us, pretty much all the districts around us have hit what they're calling a fiscal cliff. We have not hit it yet. We've done a tremendous job here trying to maintain what we have, and we've actually added some things. But that cliff is coming for us, unless something changes in school funding. So we're going to be very cognizant of that. I think we're going to have some tough decisions to make down the road. It may not be next year, but it could be 2 years, 3 years. As I said earlier, we have our expiration of our federal funds. All that COVID money is gone. It's September 30th. So that money will not be available anymore. So things that are there, we're going to have to make decisions on whether or not we're bringing those things back into our budget next year. Our district demographic is changing rapidly. Like I said, I'm seeing some of the highest spike in special education, MLLs, that I've ever seen since I've been here. That changes what we do here. That changes, we have in some cases we've had to add more staff, more services, which adds more cost, changes in the community. There's changes going on in our community right now. Families that are moving into the district are not sending their kids here. There's a lot of new construction going on. Right now, that's an unknown, because we don't know who's living in these homes when they're done. That could have an impact on the district as well down the road. And then last is the 2% cap. But right now, a school cannot increase their tax levy above 2%, but the cost of doing business is well above 2%. Like I talked about earlier with inflation, like our health benefits have a double-digit increase projected. Liability insurance, double-digit increase. All that stuff is increasing far faster than our cap. So these things are going to force some tough decisions down the road. But I mean, there are things that we are doing cost control-wise. I mean, I know administrative positions are typically a target, but we do a fantastic job here with our administrative costs. We actually spend $844 less per student than what we're allowed to spend, which approximates about $2.3 million less in administrative spending. We are 16th lowest in our administrative costs out of 76 school districts. We also have the 9th highest faculty to administrator ratio, which means we have more faculty assigned to our administration. So we do a fantastic job in this area, and that's always been, we always have, it's always been one of the things that we can talk about, because it's very easy to talk about administrative positions, and we should eliminate administrators, but we are doing a great job with the ones that we have, and we are saving money. So let's talk about some of the departmental stuff and what's actually in the budget. So obviously, like, we're investing in our district. That's what our budget is. Every year we develop a budget. We are investing in our district. We are investing in our staff. We are investing in our students. Curriculum. So right now, as of some of these stats are as of the 22-23 taxpayers' guides of spending. Manchester has the 70th lowest student-to-teacher ratio out of 74 districts in our group. That's fantastic. Now again, there's a lot of factors in there, but we have the 70th lowest student-to-teacher ratio, which is excellent. Again, that could change down the road, but right now, we have some of the smallest class sizes around in our district, which is K-12, with students of 1,800 to 3,500 kids. We have funding for summer curriculum. We're continuing staff development. We have software resources, infrastructure, data analysis. We do have funds in this budget for the summer for struggling students across all platforms, special ed, regular ed. But a lot of these programs are supported by our federal funds that are going away in September. So again, we will have more decisions to make next year. You're still obviously you have a strong focus on mental health and wellness for our students and our staff. So that's still a priority. We're replacing consumables. We are trying to meet the needs of our expanding MLL ESL population. We're still offering dual credit opportunities at our high school. Continuing the academies. We'll have summer remediation, enrichment opportunities for all students. We're doing some paired novels for middle school and high school. Textbook purchases. You know, what's kind of unique about textbooks now is there are a few people in this room that are my age or older. You know, back then we had a book. It was a book, and that textbook, you probably had that textbook in that school for 10 years. By the time that kid got it 10 years later, you know, history was rewritten. Now, all this stuff is online. All this stuff is online. These are licenses that we pay for now. In some cases, there is a physical book, but these are licenses. These licenses are every couple of years. You're renewing these things. So that's why you're going to see more of this in every budget, because we always have something that's expiring, something that has to be upgraded. So this is what we're addressing for next year, and then we're obviously renewing some online resources. Special education. We have just under 700 kids that have IEPs in this district as of this presentation. 161 kids with 504 plans. We have about, I think we have about 51 kids that are currently out of district. It was 49. Contracted services, which are additional services that are required, whether it's nursing, whether it's evaluations, those types of things. We've seen a spike in those services. We are definitely seeing more and more fragile kids coming in and needing more support. Job coaching, the job coaching and transition program at the high school. We have somebody for that position now. So we will be continuing that. I know it was vacant for a little bit this year, but we do have somebody to continue that program. Extended school year programs will still be in place. We will still be continuing on with crisis prevention. We are still utilizing our RBTs, or registered behavior technicians. These are support staff that help in like ERI classrooms, things like that, and help with behavioral students. But again, special education, like I said, it's the third largest cost in our budget behind salaries and benefits, and it's one of the ones that are, like I said, are most volatile. It typically seems to swing up only. You don't typically see a lot of families leaving. It's families coming in, families needing services, so it's always something we have to keep an eye on. Technology, like I said, you know, we're installing integrative touch panels, like these panels are on the walls. You know, years ago, it was those Epson projectors. Now it's the touch panels. The touch panels are a little more useful and a little more user-friendly. Doing some server upgrades, just doing some physical building security upgrades. We still use multi-factor authentication to keep our staff data, student data protected. Endpoint detection, again, backup. Making sure we have backups in case we are ever hacked or there's a ransomed or something like that. We are budgeting funds to replace some teacher Chromebooks, student Chromebooks. Break fix. This has seen quite a bit of an uptick over the years because all of our kids now have their Chromebooks 24/7. Those books are traveling back and forth. They're at home. They're in school over the summer. So we are seeing more breakage on some of these things. One of the things we are addressing now is we're looking at upgrading some paging systems, I believe, in our elementary schools. We've upgraded all the phone systems in the district over the past few years. Now we got to start looking at our paging systems and then software support. Facilities. Touched on this again a little bit. Again, our focus is on making sure you have clean, healthy buildings. The department has about 32 custodians, 5 grounds, and 3 maintenance, although next year they will be operating with 4 grounds. Funding provided to maintain school grounds and fields are in the budget. Resources to keep buildings safe and clean. One of the big projects that we have is we do have to replace the roof at Ridgeway. It is a huge roof. It is a shingle. It's 2 different types of roof, but that is priority 1 as far as a big capital project. We'll be doing some paving and park, trying to create additional parking at the middle school here. We do have solar panels at our high school. We've had them for probably 10 years. These solar panels do generate revenue for the district, but our inverter, which is what stores the energy and develops the solar credits, is broken. So we do have to get that fixed because that represents anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 of revenue that we generate through the sale of renewable energy credits. And then, again, facilities is one of the big ones because a lot of the products we use in facilities are petroleum based. So we've seen 20% increases across the board on equipment, supplies, materials. So we're feeling it, pretty much all across the budget. Transportation, we have one of the highest efficiencies in transportation in the county. Our transportation department runs at 200%. State recommended guideline is 120%. So what that means is we're using our buses more frequently during the day for multiple runs, 4-tier, 5-tier, and our drivers, obviously do a great job getting our kids back and forth to school safely. We have 55 buses in our fleet and 2 vans. We're not actually purchasing buses out of this budget coming up, but we do have buses that we are purchasing out of the 23-24 budget. The only reason I put this up here is because it's taken close to a year now to get buses, because there are still delays related to COVID and supply and demand, and these buses are not readily available. So that's why it's there. We do have an order in for 5 buses. We may not even get them next school year. But I just wanted to mention that. Again, you see what the prices are at the fuel pump. We pay the same thing, less taxes, so we are impacted by the cost of fuel. We still do have bus driver shortages. We are doing better. We have picked up some more drivers, but we still have shortages. So in places where we cannot cover the routes ourselves, we do have to contract that out. And then aid and lieu. Aid and lieu is the new big thing in transportation now. These are payments that we make to families who send their kids to private schools within 20 miles of the school district. We are required to make a payment to those families per child if we cannot transport them. So we are constantly looking at ways to provide transportation, but it's a challenge. So that is something we are working on. That will become a priority. Student administrative services, I think this is the last one, and then we'll go into the tax impact. Our vocational school tuition, we're estimating about $160,000 in our budget next year. That's what we have currently. This is actually down a little bit from previous years, so that could be the impact of some of the academies we have. I'm not sure, but it could be. But we have reduced the number of kids that are going out of the district to the votes. We will still be providing funding for home instruction. District mentoring program for novice teachers is still in place, and obviously we have mandated testing requirements that will be covered through this budget. So before I get into the tax impact, does anybody have any questions on anything I presented here? All right, so what is the tax impact? So the average home value right now in Manchester is $202,000. The tax rateable base, which is essentially the property value of the town, actually decreased from last year to this year due to tax appeals and adjustments. Manchester is going to go through a property reevaluation in 2025. The budget this year, the tax impact on the budget this year, on the average homeowner will be about $100 a year. So about $8.35 a month on the average home. For every $100,000 of assessed value, it'll be about $50. So if your home's assessment value is $300,000, it's going to cost you $150 a year to support this bill. And that's it. So do you have any questions? Yes.
That $150 a year, you're not indicating that's what our taxes overall are.
No, this would be the increase. This would be the increase.
That goes to the school.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
I think it's going to be more than that for the homeowner.
It could be, because we're only, no. We're only one portion of your tax bill. We're typically the biggest portion, and not just Manchester, that's everywhere. But yes, this would be the increase in the school tax portion of the tax bill. Correct.
I have a question. So I just find it interesting that tax impact on the average home in Manchester, 202,000. Is that averaging all homes, like senior communities,
Yes.
averaged with like, say, Hollyoaks
Yep.
and like or bigger homes?
Yes, so they're taking your $700,000 homes, your, whatever it is, and they're averaging, that's the average average property value of a home in Manchester. Now, obviously, realistically, the majority of the people that live, majority of homes here are probably above $200,000. We have some fairly large homes and fairly nice neighborhoods in Manchester, so that's why I give that last bullet, because then you kind of can do an easier calculation. If your home is 300, 400 units, it's $50 per every 100 of assessment. If no other questions, I would thank you, and see you next year.
Evening, everybody. I'm here to talk about our student safety report. And once again, it's also part of our mandatory reporting system. So what I'm going to report on are the incidents that took place in the first half of the school year across the district, ending in December of this year. And so this is something that we report to the Department of Education and part of our QSAC monitoring, some things that we were involved in earlier in this year. It's all part of the monitoring system. So when we look at the report, it breaks categories of incidents: violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, hid confirmed, and hid alleged. So hid confirmed is an affirmed case of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. An alleged case is an investigation that is conducted that is determined not to be a confirmed case. And then in each of those incidents, you'll see some categories. And what I tried to do is give you some perspective in regards to the timeline. So this is a 4-year snapshot of our reporting period 1, and the category types down the left-hand side, and then the total number of incidents. So 2021 is that hybrid year, so COVID hits in March. This is that following school year. So we're in the schools all year, but it's hybrid, lots of ins and outs that year. 21, 22, we've got some restrictions in place, but we're back. Last year, where there were no restrictions and we were back physically, I don't know how mentally we were back yet, and then this year, 23, 24 school year. So when you look across at the total number of incidents, actually we're down from last year, 41 last year versus 33. And the biggest change there is probably in our substances. And those are suspicion of students who are under the influence of drugs. So obviously with the increase in vaping and some of the laws and things have become legalized, clearly that's been a challenge for us in the districts. And what's interesting when you think about it is we've got more technology, more ways to detect what's going on in our buildings than we've ever had before. With cameras and vape sensors and all kinds of different ways for administrators to notify that something's going on that should be going on in the building. So that has decreased. The number of violence incidents in the buildings has increased a little bit. And just to talk a little bit about that, obviously whenever we have an incident in the building, we're following our code of conduct. We're always revising that. In all the buildings we're working with, we have a school safety team that meets every year to look at some different patterns and see what's going on in our buildings and talk about ways to try to mitigate some of the things that we're seeing. And violence, when you talk about incidents that rise to a level of concern, police, we have a fantastic relationship with our police. We're constantly in contact, whether it be through our class 3 officers, the school resource officer at the high school. So there are lots of things in place to have us accurately address these situations. And there are consequences, and there's all kinds of things that come into play depending on the situation. So when you talk about violence, what are we talking about? We're talking about things like assault, spikes. Now, assault is a one-sided fight, right? That's A fight is two individuals engaging in physical confrontation, and assault is one individual engaging in that physical confrontation, and one not taking part in that confrontation. So, and what I've done is I've just identified in some of the categories where those situations took place. And so you've got assaults, fights, kidnapping, robbery, sexual contact, sexual assault, simple threats, criminal threats, and total innocence. And again, we have seen a little bit of a rise here. And when you look at where some of that's taking place, is the simple threats, the five at the middle school has kind of driven that number up. And these are snapshots in time, right? But I think what's important to keep in mind is that they are being addressed quickly, they are being addressed appropriately, and when necessary, if police development needs to take place, all of those things are being brought to bear. Again, across the district, we've done a number of different things to address some of the concerns. We've had parent presentation, student presentation at the middle school recently. We brought in somebody on social media. It's not going to be a surprise that social media drives some of the things and some of the behaviors we're seeing in the elementary and middle and high school are some things that are being picked up from all kinds of different social media platforms. We brought some additional counseling services. The state started a new program called NJ4S, and our district was the first to get the memorandum of agreement in place so that we can provide some additional counseling for our students in the buildings at the middle school and high school. NJ4S has also come out and done an MTS presentation for 4th grade based on some things that we were seeing in the building. So we are really bringing a lot of resources to bear, but these are the incidents and the trends that we're seeing in the buildings. When you talk about vandalism, we're talking about arson, computer trespass, property damage, false public alarm, theft, trespass, and getting incident total. We had two small incidents in one of the elementary schools. From a vandalism perspective, that's not something that we're seeing, a lot of. When you talk about substance, it breaks into use confirmed, refuse to take the exam, possession, sale, and distribution, and incident total. Again, we're seeing some use confirmed at the high school and middle school. We have some students at the high school who are in possession of some things, and all those things again are being reported accurately and always with the help of the police department taking care of them. From a weapons perspective, again, it's always a concern. Oftentimes, the student who mistakenly brings in a pocket knife or something from outside from home. It gets brought in, it gets noticed, it gets reported. The good news is the kids are reporting these things that are concerning. Again, police are being notified, everything is being handled appropriately as we all kind of work together to make sure that our schools are safe. And then the last category we talk about is harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And here what we have are confirmed cases and alleged cases. And again, our numbers across the district are pretty much in keeping with what they were last year, coming out as, obviously going to chaos the 2 prior years to that. And I think what's important is that anytime anything is being reported, and now we have HIPSR, which is an online program which allows parents to report any concerns at any time. Students get a report. And again, those school safety teams are meeting in the buildings to talk about some of the patterns. Here is where we're starting to see, in certain, for example, upper elementaries, kids emulating some behaviors that we're seeing on social media and TikTok in the 5th grade has become a pattern that I think some of the schools we brought in a presentation specifically for the 4th grade to address some things. Counselors are going in and doing classroom presentations, they're doing grade-wide presentations, and then they're doing a whole school presentations at the high school, just to make sure everybody is reminded of what we want our buildings to look like, consequences, and things of those nature. So those are some of the things that we're seeing from a harassment, intimidation, and bullying perspective. And again, as I mentioned, a number of different programs, so I think it's important here is that obviously school safety is our number one priority. And whether we're talking about safety from the perspective of getting all the class trees in the building and working on the vestibules and all the different technology that we're bringing to bear and the board has invested in, and there's cameras and all those different things. But also the day-to-day connecting with kids, coming up with ways to meet some of those needs, bringing some mental health resources, just to try to help our families and some of our students that goes on every day in the buildings. And then again, typically we'll get to this time of the year, and I am the district anti-bullying coordinator. I'll meet with all the anti-bullying specialists at the end of the year. We'll start that self-assessment process. We'll start to look at some of our codes of conduct with the administrative teams and think about some things that maybe we want to start to talk about for next year in regards to some changes based on what we're seeing this year. It truly is a community effort, and just a huge thanks to, from a safety perspective, to everybody who makes it, who makes it possible. From our in-district safety team, which we have a representative here from tonight, to Lonnie, to everybody, but it truly is really nice to have such a community-wide effect and some really good stuff going on in terms of those things. Any questions?
So on your previous slide, where you're showing the confirmed and
Yes.
alleged, the high school and the middle school don't have any confirmed in the last 2 semesters, is that what I'm understanding?
The first half of the year, correct. Now, you'll see this year, that, for example, in the last 2 months, there have been cases that have been confirmed. And remember, when you're talking about bullying, you're talking about was something motivated by a distinguishing characteristic. So if I'm waiting at the high school lunch line and you cut me, and I say, why you cut me? And you say, I'm hungry and you won't eat before you today, so you just sit tight. And I say, what? You are the biggest. And I say the worst thing I can say. Maybe I bring in your religion, maybe I bring in your race. I'm so mad that you cut me. And I say all of this. But what motivated me to say that was not your race or your gender or your religion. It was the fact that you cut me. I lost my composure and I did something incredibly important. So from a legal definition, that does not meet the definition. Now, apparently, what are you talking about? That's the word that was used. And I'm not, that's a fact. It was. And it was conduct, suspension, consequences. So oftentimes when the schools are asked to look at this situation and apply it to that definition, and I think what's most important that parents understand is that, I don't want to say it's not important whether or not it meets the definition. What's important is it being addressed, and is it being addressed appropriately. And I think we feel really good about the way we're addressing it. And oftentimes, that sounds really oversimplified and easy to, and we all know, especially with cell phones and social media and all the other pieces that get brought into these situations, it's not that easy. But when you look at something like that, you can see that there's all kinds of different conflict that goes on in any school. So, and in this case, in this stretch of those 7 investigations, none were motivated by distinguishing characteristics. But I think what's important about high school in general, the last 2 years, we've talked about this with the administrative team, is if we went back 7 years, so many years where we did 3 investigations at high school. And we would look at each other like there's more going on in high school than 3 investigations. Right? And I think last year and this year, while the investigations are up, we view that as kids come and saying, I need to love this, right? I'm not being able to get this thing figured out. And whereas 7 years ago, they might have just let that fester and turn into something else. Now kids are saying, give me a hand, let's see if we can.
So is that why the number is 0 at this point compared to previous years? Our tax on how we're handling it?
I would like to think it's impacted, but at the end of the day, it's what incidents are being brought forth, and what incidents are we being able to address.
So those alleged, right? That's
Yeah,
what-
so those are all things that were investigated.
Those were investigated and
Absolutely.
found not to be confirmed.
Correct.
The reason why I'm questioning this is because, the suicide rate and, you hear that the parents from other districts, the victims, they reported it, and the district, I just want to make sure that I always bring up PIP in the beginning of the year, make sure our policy is up to date and better than our legally required mandate from the state. I always think we should be better than that. I just want to make sure that you are comfortable that our kids are feeling secure and that truly it's not, there are no concerns. I mean, obviously there's concerns, but investigations were complete.
Absolutely. And the other thing I'll tell parents, because sometimes a lot of parents come forward and say, well, I want you to know this, but I don't want you to do it. I don't want this to become a big issue. Well, all the guarantees, if I don't know about it, I can't handle it. If we know about it, we can at least attend. But once we know about it, we're gonna go through the process. We're gonna, get whether or not it's confirmed or not, it's gonna be addressed. I think that's
agenda is the NJSLA for the 2023 fall block. This in particular has been shared to parents, the community, it's on the website. But I'd like to just give a little background because our high school, as you know, is on block scheduling. This was done in the fall of 2023. And I just want everybody to be aware of it. It's really only representative of 77 students in ELA. It's not the entire ninth grade. In mathematics, it was 72 ninth graders, 26 10th graders, and then I believe we had about 10 to 11 eighth graders. So when you're looking at these scores, you're going to see that the number looks very, very low. That's because of the way it was administered. The other thing is that in algebra, there were 80 students who took the assessment, and of those students, very few were ninth graders. Most of those children were actually 11th graders, and then we did have 5 12th graders. So the scores will be posted online, they're all shared. If you have any questions, you could please let us know. But really, we'll use this information to compile it, work with our child study team, work with our building assessment committees, and then really look at our subgroups to make sure that we're hitting what we need to in each and every area. The other thing is that when we present the spring scores, this will be part of that. So we share it initially so that you can see it, but you don't see the full range of it until it's in entirety when you're including the spring, because then that would be the entire population that's being tested. So I know the board had a chance to look at it. I don't know if you have any questions. I certainly can share that information again, but it is on our website. There's also a recording that Dr. Saracino has completed. But I think it's important that you put some context behind it because it's a very small snapshot of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take our report from the military ambassador.
Hello. So last weekend I went and walked with the MOAC, also at the golf stadium. It was a great time. Let's see, May 10th, there's a military-connected family recognition ceremony at Adventure Crossing for graduating seniors for any military-connected. I think Ms. De Jesus reached out to Mr. Adams to give him the information on that.
She did, and we actually did a run of seeing how many kids, and I believe we sent the invitation to about 5 families. Am I right, Michael? So the 5 senior families.
Okay, and that can be anyone that's either active military or retired within the last 5 years as well.
Yeah.
So it might.
We also ran it through Sergeant Holzer just to
Okay.
make sure that we didn't miss anything.
Okay.
But thank you so much.
Awesome. And then I want to thank the district for their continued support with everything from the month of the military child proclamation to the student engagement day, all that stuff. And then thank you to MTES for partnering with the school liaison program for the reading buddy program. The next reading session is May 9th from 9 to 11. If any other schools would like to have us and Ridgeway, but especially Whiting, would like to have us come out and read, just reach out to Ms. De Jesus, and that's all I have.
Can I just comment that I went to the open house, and I mean, I've been to the air shows as well, but the kids loved it so much, and they did not want to leave.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I finally had to say to them, we got to get on the buses. It was fantastic. If you saw the news feed on it, they were able to get on all of the different planes, helicopters. The robot was a huge hit. The robot actually was autographing for them. And it's just so amazing to see our kids ask questions because, as a matter of fact, our MTMS engineering group that went, they kept introducing themselves as the champions of the Sea Purge, which is a very big thing.
Yeah.
They actually are regional champions, and they were just so in their element, and it was just great to see. And the interaction with your staff there was fantastic. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take Aiden's report. He's representing our Student Government Association.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aiden Okersinski, and I'm the senior class treasurer for the class of 2024 at Manchester Township High School. The reason I'm speaking before you tonight is to provide you with important information regarding the activities and events that have taken place or are currently taking place at our high school. And I want to start off with the events of the Spring Pep Rally, where we hosted our Slimy Principal, and our Spring Spirit Week, in which students earned a merit reduction for their participation. And we also had many events we've been working on student council. Our executive SGA has been working on the Someone Special Dance, which will be Sunday, June 2nd. This is a day of fun where younger students can participate in dancing, face painting, and more for their Someone Special grown-up. My class, the senior class, has been planning our senior gift ideas for graduation. We aren't too sure what they are yet, but all ideas in the works. And our prom is May 17th at Mainland, and we're also looking at the possibility of hosting student first basketball. Our junior class, their prom date is May 31st, and all the details are still in the works, but I know the date is set in stone. The sophomore class is looking at a possible food fundraiser as well as a possible cornhole tournament for the spring. Our freshman class is planning to do a spikeball tournament at some point during the spring as well as a possible movie night, but I know they're also still working on that. So yeah, lots of good things for our high school community and for the community as a whole. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to represent Manchester Township High School student government at this board meeting. And I'm truly honored to be here with all of you and to have the opportunity to fill all of you in on all the great things that you're working on. So thank you.
Thank you, Aiden. I keep getting feedback, so I'll just talk really loud. At this time, we would like to take Craig's report.
Yep, just a couple things on the agenda. So last month, the board approved a resolution to allow me to allocate funds into this budget, the 23-24 budget. The county office just asked for a revision of the resolution, so that's on the agenda. It's just a revision. It's already been approved by the county office. The PEA budget, which is our preschool budget, is on the agenda again. Nothing's changed overall in the total budget. Again, going through the budget review process, they wanted us to move some things around in the budget itself, so they wanted us to get a new resolution, so that's on the agenda. We had a bid opening for our cafeteria operations. We were in the 5th year of that contract. We did only receive one bid. It is from our current food service provider, Pontonian. So that is on the agenda tonight to recommend them for the next school year. And then lastly, over the past 4 years or so, our cafeteria program has actually done extremely well. And that was due to higher participation, higher reimbursements during COVID, things like that, and we've generated some surplus in that area. Now, the only caveat is you can only use this money in cafeteria operations. We cannot move it out, move it into our local budget. So what we are doing is we are doing improvements in all of our cafeterias. Some are getting furniture, some are getting equipment, those types of things. So there are some contracts on the agenda tonight representing some of those things that we're going to do. We're going to do some new flooring, things like that, countertops, stuff like that, stuff that we can spend the money on. Because if we don't, then they're going to require us to write a corrective action plan on why we're not spending it. So we're going to try to spend that and kind of do some upgrades there. And that's it. That's my report.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to invite any residents from the community to discuss or bring up anything on the agenda. Any board member reports? Any old business or correspondence?
No old business, no correspondence.
Okay, so to the agenda, section 1. A, new business, numbers 1 to 4. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servant?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin? Mrs. Merkin?
Yes. Letter B, revised budget transfer, letters B and C. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servant?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin? Mrs. Merkin?
Yes. C, grants, numbers 1 and 2. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Servadack?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Yes.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Letter D, contracts and waivers, numbers 1 to 3. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servadack?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Abstain.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Letter E, food service, number 1. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servadack?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Abstain.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Section 2, letter A, administrative, numbers 1 through 4. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servadack?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Yes.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes. B, personnel, numbers 1 to 36. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? I would like to congratulate all of those who are retiring this year. Thank you for your service to the Manchester Township Schools, and I wish you the best. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servadack?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Abstain from 28, yes to the rest.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Abstain.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Letter C, student personnel, numbers 1 and 2. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Can I get a roll, any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servadack?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Abstain.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Letter D, special services, number 1. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servadack?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Yes.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Section 3, finance, letter A, numbers 1 through 5. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servadack?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Abstain.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes. At this time, we would like to open the floor for public comment. Would any members from the community like to come forward? Please state your name and address at the podium.
My name is Monica Devlin. I reside at 1600 Commonwealth Boulevard in Manchester. I'm the parent of 2 students attending Whiting Elementary. Our nephews came to live with us a little over a year ago due to their parents' inability to provide the level of care that they require as 2 special needs preschool-age children with disabilities. I want to share what Jeremiah's classroom experience has been, along with our experiences as parents advocating for him within your district. Jeremiah has several neurodivergent diagnoses and trauma that severely impacts his nervous system, so that he often feels anxious and unsafe. When that happens, he resorts to survival responses, often lashing out with big emotions and behaviors that usually do not align with the situation that he is experiencing. When these things happen, he will scream, curse, hit, kick, bite, spit, destroy property, throw things, rips them off the wall, whatever he can think of to defend himself. There have been almost daily incidents of his disabilities causing him to disrupt his class, often putting staff and students at risk of injury. In early March, Jeremiah's mental health was at an all-time low following the implementation of a behavior plan. He was making verbal threats of harm against his classmates and teachers. It was also so bad that he told Miss Hughes, his teacher, that he wanted to die. My 5-year-old was having suicidal thoughts. We called them over crisis team because we were concerned for his and everyone else's safety. That's when I began to really push for him to get the resource that he so desperately needed. While I can appreciate that dedicating a resource such as a one-on-one paraprofessional to a student is a decision that should not be taken lightly, I cannot agree with the way that your administration handled the request for Jeremiah to be assigned one. Throughout this process, we have had so many wonderful people truly want to help Jeremiah and give him what he needs to thrive. May Hughes is Jeremiah's teacher. With daily communication, she's very consistent in ensuring that we are in the loop with Jeremiah's classroom experience. We are very grateful to have someone so thorough and caring taking care of him. As a first-year teacher, she's an incredible asset to your schools. Allison Simone is their case manager. She's always a breath of fresh air. She's wonderful to work with and truly does have their best interest at heart of all she does. Mrs. Swift and Mrs. Pedroza have both reached out to see how things are going with the boys. We are so thankful for so many supportive educators. When you see how much they truly care and love these kids, it becomes very apparent when there are people who do not. The experience that we had as parents with Ms. Lawton and Mrs. Antonucci was appalling. The power struggle that followed our request for Jeremiah to be assigned a one-on-one paraprofessional unnecessary. There were multiple instances of them being unresponsive and fabricating information. I was told that we had not exhausted all resources and that we needed to develop a second behavior plan. It took 4 emails and 5 weeks before I was eventually contacted by Ms. Lawton for new strategies. She has made comments disparaging Ms. Hughes about being a first-year teacher and even told Jeremiah's therapist who does in-school sessions, good luck, he's difficult, while he was standing in the hallway walking next to them. She went so far as to tell Ms. Hughes to ignore my concerns and to continue the behavior plan that was contributing to Jeremiah's depressive symptoms, all without even picking up the phone to call us as parents. Mrs. Antonucci does not engage. When she does respond to emails, she doesn't read them in their entirety. I spent hours pulling together data and documentation for her to review, and she didn't even look at it. I know this because 3 weeks later, she asked what documentation I was referring to. I directed her to my previous email. Despite being asked 3 separate times, weeks apart, for written denial of the one-on-one for Jeremiah, it was never supplied. In an effort to not fulfill my request, she told me that legally she didn't have to provide that. I'm unsure if she was confused or intentionally being untruthful. The reason Mrs. Antonucci could not provide written notice for the denial because there was not a legitimate educational reason for Jeremiah being neglected of one. There was 7 months worth of data documenting his challenges in the school environment. Documentation showing that when he has a trusted adult one-on-one, his outbursts are reduced. It seems Mrs. Antonucci never bothered to review it, so she had no knowledge of these documents. Yet she was the one responsible for making the decision without even knowing the child whose future she was dictating. Is this how you want a vulnerable child that you loved and cared about treated? What will other parents in the district think when they hear how Jeremiah's case is handled? We need people who are looking out for the children's best interests and running things and making these important decisions, not those who are more worried about their pride or how it looks on paper. Since I have a limited amount of time, I will be following up with an email with supporting documents. I will send them to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank you for coming to the microphone, and I wish you, Jeremiah, and the rest of your family the best, and I hope things start going on a better path for your baby.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to come to the microphone? At this moment, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn our Board of Ed meeting. Get a motion? Motion. All in favor? Aye. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for coming out.